everyone. I'm Alex Maierian, and I'm co-founder and CEO at Phantom Photonics. Just making sure I do have slides. Lovely, thank you. So the company is a spin-out from a project I had as a graduate student at the University of Waterloo, where I was studying quantum information. And we were working on quantum communications, really, sending light pulses out into space to send messages and to do encrypted communications. But we had an idea and we thought, why don't we take that way of encoding light and use it for something different, sensing. And what happened was we saw a huge advantage in performance of the sensor. We took that tech, we ran with it, we patented it, published it, and here we are today. So I want to talk about LiDAR in general. Next slide, please, just to get everyone on the same page. So LiDAR is an active sensor, which means it sends something out into the environment to tell what's there. In our instance, it's sending out light. And the way it works is it sends out a pulse of light into the environment, waits for it to come back, and then calculates how long it took the light to travel. And that way, it determines how far away the object is. Typically, a LiDAR will scan the field of view to get a 3D image of the space in front of it. But it does have a limitation, and the limitation is distance. Because as light travels through the environment, the air, the water, whatever it is, it gets fainter and fainter. So when you send out a pulse of light full of photons, that's the brightness level, the photons dissipate, they get absorbed. And if the light travels far enough, by the time some of the light particles, the photons, come back to the device, there may not be enough of them to actually tell that there was something there at all. And so at Phantom Photonics, we innovated the two major parts of the LiDAR. So the two major parts are the source, the laser, and the other side is the camera or the detector. So on the emission side, we encoded the light the same way we had been doing for quantum communications, so that every single particle is stamped with a signature. So if only very few particles come back from the scene, we can tell them apart from all the other particles of light. But also, on the detection end, we are using single photon detectors. So these are devices that are sensitive to the single particle of light. So what happens is we can get back a single particle of light from the field of view, and we can tell it apart from everything else. And this allows us to achieve greater range because we can afford to lose a lot more light along the way. Next slide, please. Now, historically, in the underwater medium, sonar has been the Swiss Army knife in that it is used for communications. It is also used for imaging. It has really good range in comparison to LiDAR, but it does have a limitation in its resolution. LiDAR creates far better resolved images, but also it is loud, and it gives away the position of the user or the existence of the user, whereas LiDAR would not. Next slide, please. There is LiDAR underwater today, but it is used in a limited fashion because it has to be A, very close to whatever it's imaging, and B, it needs to be stabilized. So we're talking about 7 meters. You have to be within 7 meters of whatever you're imaging. And if you've got waves and currents and you're bobbing about, the scanning situation is going to make it impossible to reconstruct the image in the back end. So that's where we talk about stabilization. Next slide, please. So what you see on the screen is an example of how LiDAR is deployed underwater today, largely. You need a very large vessel with a crew, and at the far end of the vessel, you see a robot. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like. Next slide. Oh, all right. Pause there. So that robot is actually enormous. It is taller than a human being, and it is required to be stable. Deploying LiDAR in such a fashion is very expensive. You're looking at about $1 million for 2 days of deployment. And so at Phantom Photonics, what we're doing, is we're trying to use the LiDAR that can see farther to deploy it from the surface instead of bringing it within 7 meters of the device. Our LiDAR can see up to 200 meters today. We've got R&D to push that farther. The idea being that we can deploy networks of surface vessels that will look down into the water and image or do surveillance of traffic as needed and send that data remotely back to the ground. This is to reduce the cost and democratize access of the device. And I'd also like to add that our tech can be brought down to the size of a chip. So the use cases widen. We're here for maritime today, but I would like to add that this tech can be used in the air and in outer space as well. We're talking about satellites as well. The biggest use cases that we found are to do with critical infrastructure monitoring and imaging for structural integrity, but also for security. From a security perspective also, as I had mentioned, the traffic of vessels going through underwater. And there are two more ways of using our tech that I don't usually talk about because they're kind of edge cases, but I think given the people who are in the room today, this actually might matter. So I've been talking about imaging. We can also do communications because the tech was ultimately used for encoding light to communicate, so we could still do that. And underwater, that presents an advantage because it's silent communication. And then on the flip side, so the third use case, a way of using our technology, is spectroscopy. And that's a word that means determining the chemical composition of what's in front of the device. In the maritime situation, you could think of something like finding uranium concentrations in water and even mining it, which the Chinese are doing. It's more expensive than traditional terrestrial mining, but there we have it. And in the air, we would talk about ultra-long-range chemical warfare detection. In the air, our tech does work a lot better than underwater. We can do imaging up to 50 kilometers. If we do look at the comm situation, it's double the distance because you're only sending the light one way. So that applies underwater as well. So 200 meters becomes 400 meters underwater. And that's where we're at. So I'd like to thank everyone today for your attention, and I think we're ready for questions.